Farad, and thank you to the CPIM for letting me host this conversation. So, ma'am, comrade, you are the lady of the moment. You are actually the hero. They say, comet the hour, comet the leader. And since last evening, cut across political parties, cut across different sections of society, everyone is raving about your heroic act when you actually stood against those fascist forces, against those bulldozers that threaten to trample upon the houses and the shops of the poorest and the most marginalized sections of society, who happen also to be from the minority community. A large section of them are Bengali speaking. So what do you feel that this translates to? Do you think that this is a concerted attack on the minorities of India to send out some kind of a resounding message, or there is something more sinister?
It is very sinister, Saira. You're absolutely right. Because what we have seen is the advent of a kind of politics which is exemplified by bulldozer politics of the Sangh Parivar. We have described the BJP and its regime as being quite different from earlier regimes who were as poor, anti-poor, and pro-rich. The other regimes in India their records have been really quite abominable as far as the growth of social and economic inequalities are concerned. In BJP, we know it's an Adani-Ambani party. But along with that politics, what we are seeing, particularly in the recent past, is a targeting of the minority community in a manner which strips them of the minimum right that minority communities in India have as equal citizens. This is what Golwalkar had written about in his Hindu Nation and Nationhood Defined, in which he had written and said that those who are Muslims or Christians and minorities can live in India on the condition that they subordinate themselves to the Hindutva culture.
Right.
And today we are seeing that full frame in Indian politics, in which the state is being used as an instrument for this agenda of minority targeting. And I say, Saira, the bulldozer is not a bulldozer which is demolishing poor people or Muslim houses. It's true, that's what it's doing, but it's demolishing the Constitution of India. No? It's demolishing the rights of citizens. It's demolishing democracy. It's demolishing everything civilized. So when Jyoti Basu described this force as the most barbaric force, we are seeing that barbarism today in the shape of the bulldozer.
Right. So we have seen on Hanuman Jayanti how the Hindutva goons manufactured this riot, which snowballed into this bulldozing of the victims' houses, who happened to be from the minorities. We saw how a large section towards the entrance of the mosque, that was completely defecated, it got trampled upon. And there was a woman wailing outside who was pleading for help. However, the police administration, who are supposed to be enablers of justice, they are playing a tacit role on becoming another extension of the government itself. So in these very challenging circumstances, what do you feel we need to do, or what do you feel the role of a communist or the left should be in these circumstances?
So can I just take your first question about the actual area? Now, Jahangirpuri, many years ago when I was young, like you are now, I was a trade union worker in the Textile Workers Union, where there were mills right there in North Delhi, where Jahangirpuri is placed. And I remember Jahangirpuri was set up in 75, 76 during the emergency in the name of beautification of Delhi when all the slums were razed to the ground. And at that time, there was a big Bengali community living on the banks of the Yamuna. And they were removed from there and resettled, many of them, in Jahangirpuri, some in a place called Nannagiri, but a large number of them were in Jahangirpuri. So that is in 1975-76. And they have always lived in C block. I remember the first Mahila conference I organized in Jahangirpuri was actually in C block. They're all Bengalis, Muslims. And there are many of them from Midnapur, many of them from Howrah. At that time, it was undivided Midnapur. So both west and east, but mainly east. So, and Howrah, Hooghly, these areas. So they have been there for the last 40 years. They are Indian citizens.
Absolutely.
What happened? And I know Jahangirpuri. Not in 40 years has there been a single communal incident in Jahangirpuri. This is important to flag because there are Hindu families living in C block. Not many of them, but there are. Also shopkeepers living in C block. There are single women there, single women households, widows. They have never faced any problem from any of their neighbors who happen to be Muslim. These are non-Bengalis, but they've always lived in peace and harmony. So what happened? We have to ask that question. Why is it suddenly on Hanuman Jayanti this should happen? So that procession that you referred to, first of all, it was illegal. It was a procession, did not have police permission. Number two, it was a procession which was armed. There were naked swords being carried. There were at least 2 pistols, which I have seen on a video and given as evidence to the police commissioner of Delhi. 2 processioners carrying open pistols. They had a big DJ, a big open car with blaring music. And it was escorted by the police. The first question is, how come the police allowed it? How was it allowed? We were not allowed to hold a dharna day before yesterday, saying that no, because of the communal situation. How was that allowed? How was an illegal procession, an armed procession, escorted by the police, allowed in the first place? Secondly, how was it allowed for them to stop at the mosque at the very moment when Roza fast was being broken and namaz was being read and people were congregating for the evening prayer during Roza, congregating there? At that very time, how was the procession allowed to stop there?
That is critical.
So who is responsible? So Delhi police played a conniving role. Who is the Delhi police under? The Delhi police is under the Home Minister of India.
Correct.
India. So this all seems to be a manufactured event to bring this kind of politics into Delhi, into the heart of the capital, among people who are equally poor. And by the way, yesterday when I was there, I was told by many of our friends and contacts and workers and women that they were all outsiders who had come. And you can imagine this, that the FIR, in the first FIR, the police had said, illegal procession organized by the Yuva wing of the Bajrang Dal. Within a short time, the name of Yuva wing of Bajrang Dal was removed by the police from the FIR. What does it mean? What is this? This is nothing but BJP, Sankirn and sectarian Hindutva politics, which is destroying our country and destroying the Constitution of India.
a lot of false cases were registered against the victims. There's a saying कि हम पे हमला करके हम ही को हमलावर बतलाना, in this very poignant poem, सब याद रखा जाएगा, where the aggrieved are, what you call, suffering anyway, and then there are false cases that are filed against them. There was this story that came out of this differently able man who's an amputee, he's without hands, and he
Deportation.
was named, yes, he was named in the FIR as one of the writers. It's absolutely unbelievable and so
That is in
appalling.
that is in Khargon in Madhya
Yes,
Pradesh, where
yes,
his house was also demolished and he was
right.
named a rioter. So
Yeah, so
that's
that's happening in different parts of India. Yes,
parts of India. But in Jahangirpuri, it is a fact that there were criminal elements um,
right.
within that block also who did have illegal arms, and they fired on the
Hmm.
processionists after this clash occurred.
Hmm.
So the point is that I am for punishment of the guilty.
Hmm.
I am for strong
Hmm.
punishment for the
Hmm.
guilty. But what is happening is one-sided. It is entirely one-sided.
Right.
And by being one-sided, why is it one-sided? Because your politics of targeting the minority community, of destroying and subverting the processes of justice, the credibility of the police is what today? It's very, very
Questionable.
low. And that's absolutely.
So, comrade, you were on ground zero when the bulldozer incident happened, and there's a very strong visual of you. You were flashing the Supreme Court order. You had that piece of paper in your hand, and you put in your utmost effort to stop the bulldozers from trampling those houses. Now, here we need to understand that most majority of the people in India stay in very impoverished conditions. They do not have access to drinking water. They do not have access to electricity. And here you're depriving them of a roof over their head by alleging that they are Rohingyas or they are Pakistani or they are Bangladeshi. So, how do you feel now with this very vitriolic atmosphere? Where are we headed? And what is the interpretation of these chronological events that are taking place again and again? Like we talked about the incident in Madhya Pradesh, and here it happened in Jahangirpuri, which you have said earlier has been at most peaceful. There have never been such incidents, but these are being manufactured repeatedly. So here when we talk about the role of the opposition, we see that most leaders are absconding, or we see that they are trying to appease the Hindutva vote bank by saying, no, 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 this is just, it is against the poor, the bulldozer, and negating the fact that majority of the people who live in Jahangirpuri are Bengali speaking, and also they happen to be from the Muslim community. We cannot shy away from that fact. So don't you think that we need to spell out that elephant in the room? It's about time.
Hmm. Well, my dear Sarah, I think we can find another time to do that. I think your question is very relevant. But
Right.
right now, when you talk about the resistance, all I can say is that as communists, it is our creed, our creed. This is why we are here, alive and working. So that's our creed. Where there's injustice, take the red flag to fight it. Now, every single day, our comrades throughout India are fighting. Right now in Jharkhand, they are now trying to put a firing range in Adivasi sacred, what they consider traditional sacred land. Our comrades are there
Hmm.
with the flag fighting. In Bengal
Hmm.
against the TMC terror, how much have you all fought? But,
Hmm.
you don't, the media doesn't report it. The bravery and courage of everyday communist work is never reported.
Right.
So for us, I don't, quite frankly, I see nothing. exceptional or heroic or any. We are communists, that's what we're for. That's what
Right.
we believe in. That's what our lives are. And
Hmm.
that's where every single day, somewhere in India,
Hmm.
whether it's a bulldozer or whether it's just a bulldozer of injustice, a communist is fighting, and many communists are
Hmm.
fighting.
Hmm.
So I think today what we need to concentrate on is
Hmm.
how we fight back this offensive. What
Correct.
are the strategies? How do we do it? My point is that right now in Jahangirpuri, our teams are there. Every day
Hmm.
we're going. Now we've set up a legal aid camp there. We've
Right.
given a call for relief work. So we are going to collect funds for relief work
Hmm.
there. We are filling in affidavits, which we are going to be filing before the courts. So right now the point is be on the ground and do the
Hmm.
work we need to do to help those in distress. And our politics comes through that work. That is what I
Right.
believe in. I,
Hmm.
I strongly believe that today what we need is work on the ground, and that is what we are doing. So, Saira, quite frankly, this kind of, it's very good that, the fight back was shown and everything. But all I want to say is that as communists, this is our work and we are doing it. And our comrades all over India are doing it every single day, 24/7.
So, comrade, there are many such migrant workers that are established in various parts of
Yeah.
the metropolitan cities, and which are essentially the driving force of the city. Now, similar models, like I feel Jahangir Puri was an experiment, and they will try and do that in the other metropolitan cities as well. Now, if we go by the argument of illegality, that these are illegal bastis and everything, so there are a lot of illegal sites which have been built by the capitalists, which haven't got the due permission. So now the argument is that this government is not only anti-minority, it is anti-poor as well, because here they are not actually bringing to light how many illegal constructions there are in Delhi. You talk about Mohali, you talk about the other, the urban belt where so many illegal construction has come in. So here we talk about what was the calamity, what was the national calamity to do that, and especially when the Supreme Court order had come. Within a couple of hours, you make a statement, we received no such order, and we are
I
going ahead with
It
this
was,
whole
it was
bulldozer project.
when we went to Jahangirpuri yesterday, it was
Right.
totally surreal. We had the
Yeah.
order, and by the time we reached, already 1.5 hours had passed. So,
Right. Hmm.
unfortunately, all the
Hmm.
houses which had been demolished and the shops, it need not have
Right.
happened if the
Right.
police. So, they were totally in contempt of the law and the court.
Yes. Hmm.
Totally in contempt.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, what was happening was illegal
Surreal.
because no due
Hmm.
process of law, and
Hmm.
secondly, it was doubly illegal because they knew what the Supreme Court had
Hmm.
said, and yet
Hmm.
they went ahead. And what I
Hmm.
want to point out here from your issue about migrants,
Hmm.
Bengali migrants, Bengali speaking migrants,
Hmm.
especially if they happen to be Muslim,
Hmm.
are extremely vulnerable in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Hmm.
this way that the AAP in Delhi
Hmm.
has gone with the BJP and RSS narrative that
Hmm.
these
Hmm.
are Rohingyas, these are Bangladeshi criminals,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
run criminal rackets, etc., etc. And then
Hmm.
AAP replying and their leaders replying and saying that what you are the people who've settled them there for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is absolutely and utterly highly
Bizarre.
objectionable.
Yes.
First of
Hmm.
all, they are Indian citizens. And secondly, even if one or two of them are not, I mean, do you have any humanity in you that you can just
Exactly.
bulldoze them?
Raise
But
off their homes.
one thing I remember why I'm saying Bengali migrants, especially Muslim migrants, because I have seen what has happened in Assam. I
Right.
had been to Assam in that horrible eviction case.
Hmm.
where those who have documents,
Hmm.
those who have been cultivating the land and made the land cultivable,
Hmm.
those families and households have been completely coerced, bulldozed, fired on, and thrown into a no man's world,
Hmm. Hmm.
into a no human world,
Hmm.
into a world where they have absolutely no
Hmm.
rights.
Hmm.
And why?
Hmm.
Because they are Bengali speaking Muslims
Hmm.
and they are accused of being illegal migrants.
Migrants. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
illegal migrants. So, in other words, if you are Bengali, if you speak Bengali,
Bengali.
and if you are a Muslim,
Yeah.
anywhere in India, under the present regime, you are vulnerable to being termed an illegal immigrant and being
Hmm. Hmm.
stripped of your rights as
Correct.
citizens. And
Right.
I think that is one of the issues which have been flagged by the
Hmm.
Jahangir horror.
Correct. So, comrade, if you look at the occupation of these people, a lot of them are manual scavengers. Some of them are very small businessmen, very, very small shops they own. Then they are construction workers to small businessmen. So, here, don't you think that the government is trying to deflect the attention because they do not have any permanent shelter or an income guarantee? And we've seen how the pandemic has affected their income and their lives drastically, so they do not have any answer to the working people's problems. So they're trying to deflect the attention from the core people's issues by communalizing issues, by making it into this Hindu Muslim issue.
You know, if it was just a question of diversion, Saira, na, then we could say, yes, if you highlight the other issues, you can deal with it. It's not a diversion. This is their agenda.
This is the agenda, core agenda. Yes. Hmm.
It's their core agenda. This is what they
Hmm.
are there for. Otherwise,
Hmm.
there are other big bourgeois capitalist landlord parties in India.
Hmm. Hmm.
We fight them. We fight
Hmm.
their policies and we fight
Hmm.
their agendas. But this
Right.
is what the RSS is there for. So it's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
a diversion. This is them. This is their
This is the
DNA.
agenda. Yeah. Yeah. This is the
So
DNA. Yeah.
now, what the point here is the need to build the unity and the confidence, the need for class struggle, for mass struggle, to rebuild confidence and unity of communities is essential.
Correct.
But along with that, all these struggles have to fight, have to fight against this communalization. And I'm
Hmm.
very happy that I was just told yesterday by some of our comrades that here in Delhi, in the joint trade union platform which they have formed for the observation of May Day, here in Delhi, one of the most important issues that they are going to take up is against this communal horror and this
Correct.
toxic nature
Hmm.
of bulldozer politics. So we need to do both things: fight on our basic fundamental issues of
Right.
economic and social security, and at the same time link
Hmm.
that struggle against the struggle against the RSS BJP's core agenda. And I
Hmm.
think people of India are doing that because the kind of response that we saw yesterday after the stopping of the bulldozer, it only reflects how outraged ordinary folk are. It's not because a bulldozer was stopped, it's because people were so happy that the bulldozer was stopped because they knew
Yeah. Yeah.
all over India that what is happening is so
Hmm.
wrong, so unjust, so
Right.
illegal, so inhumane,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
uncivilized, so undemocratic, and so
Hmm.
unconstitutional. So that is the kind of response because people are angry. They may not be
Right.
able to express it. So today it's our job to help that expression, to help
Hmm.
common folk and
Hmm.
citizens of India to express themselves against
Hmm.
this kind of politics in whatever way, whichever way,
Hmm.
however they want to do it. That's what
Some
our
clip
approach must be.
some clips of yours have gone viral where you have made a statement that in case we are weak in the parliament, then we need to take the fight to the streets. If the opposition cannot fight back, then the streets are going to give them a resounding answer. So do you think in the current scenario with the opposition literally not being that effective as we would like them to be, we need to amplify our voices further in the streets so that the
Absolutely.
real issues can be addressed?
Yeah, absolutely. In every fora, wherever we are, the street, in colleges, in cafes, in coffee houses, at homes, wherever we are, on trains, on buses, on trams, wherever
Hmm.
we are,
Hmm.
speak. Because your
Right.
silence, if you don't speak, is going to cost us our country. I'm pretty sure of that. Khamoshi todo, aage
बिल्कुल
bolo.
बिल्कुल
This is
बिल्कुल
what we say. Speak.
तो हम जी
Whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, just speak out.
जी यस सो yesterday we witnessed कि वामपंथी जो होते हैं जो कम्युनिस्ट जो होते हैं वो कितना भी बड़ा संघर्ष रहा हो जैसे हमने देखा ये कृषि आंदोलन जो रहा या फिर CA/NRC का जो बहुत ही एक डिवाइसिव एजेंडा रहा या फिर ये जो बुलडोजर जो राजनीति चल रही है ये कम्युनिस्ट ही आगे जो लेफ्ट पॉलिटिशियंस ही आगे जो है बहुत ही टक्कर की लड़ाई देती हैं जब जब ये जो सियासती ताकत हुकूमत और अपनी तानाशाही से यहाँ पे जुल्म करती है माइनॉरिटीज के प्रति या फिर गरीबों के प्रति या जितने भी यहाँ पे डिसएनफ्रेंचाइज हमारी जो संख्या है और उनके प्रति तो आपको क्या लगता है कि आगे जो कम्युनिस्ट जो है उनको पॉलिटिक्स में जो है और आप डू यू फील वी नीड टू मेक इट स्ट्रॉन्गर और वी नीड टू सी दैट the communist ideology, the leftist ideology is a driving force to reckon with, and people somehow do understand, and they should get to know that the communists will stand by them, you know, irrespective of the religion, irrespective of the circumstances, whatever.
What I would say, Saira, is let us do our work.
Yeah.
Let us be with the people, which we are. Let the red flag be there in every single case of injustice. People will come.
Yeah.
Because, see, we can't compete with the kind of money which is there in electoral politics now.
Correct.
We can't compete with the kind of gundagardi and the kind of criminality which is seen. We can't compete with the total subversion of the electoral system, and we don't want to also. This electoral bonds, getting money from the rich and having a quid pro quo with them. We communists, that's anathema to us. We can't do that. We don't do that. We'll never do that. So what is our way? In a new world where there's so many different ways of communication, we have to master all that community, because even though it's a double-edged sword, it can go against you, but if you learn to use it, that's good.
Right.
We can amplify our messages through social media to reach out to new sections of people. And at the same time, groundwork, contact with the people, that is something which is the DNA of the communists and of the left.
Right.
So that is a difference.
Right.
In 1925, when the RSS was formed, right from then, they became an instrument for the policy of divide and rule. In 1920, when our party was born, right from the beginning, we faced the worst kind of repression. The dark days when our leaders were all in jail. All communist leaders within a few years of the inception and creation of the party were all in jail. Every single
Correct.
case in the freedom struggle It was the communists who were incarcerated.
Hmm.
And yet, we are here. What's happening in Bengal? मतलब যেভাবে টিএমসি করছে আমাদের কমরেডদের উপর, আর সেটা আমি তোমাকেও বলবো সায়রা, যে
Hmm.
সাহসের সাথে তুমি ইলেকশনে দাঁড়িয়ে একটা মেসেজ তুমি নিয়ে গেছো, এটা আমাদের জন্য ভীষণ ইন্সপায়ারিং। এটা একদিন, ওইটা তো বুলডোজার। বুলডোজার শুধু একটা ঝুঁকিকে ভাঙছে না,
হ্যাঁ।
বুলডোজার প্রত্যেক প্রত্যেক এরিয়াতে। তুমি যখন
হুম।
নির্বাচন লড়েছো, তুমি রোজ বুলডোজার ফেস করেছো। টিএমসির অথরিটিজম, ওদের গুন্ডাগর্দি, ওদের টাকা, আর অন্যদের যা তোমার বিরুদ্ধে যা কুপ্রচার হয়েছে, ওইটা তো
হুম।
বুলডোজার তুমি ফেস করেছে। রোজ আমাদের মেয়েরা যা ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলের টিএমসি টেরর মোকাবিলা করছে, ওরা রোজ বুলডোজার ফেস করছে। তো বুলডোজার হচ্ছে রুলিং ক্লাস আর বিশেষ করে বিজেপি আরএসএস এর হাতিয়ার। কিন্তু
হাতিয়ার। হুম।
বুলডোজার শুধু একটা মেশিন নয়,
হুম।
বুলডোজার একটা আইডিওলজি। আর
রাইট।
ওই
ইটস আ সিম্বল।
বুলডোজার আইডিওলজিকে, তার
হুম।
বিরুদ্ধে আমাদের, আর তুমি যা লড়েছো, আমি বলছি তোমাকে, তোমারও লড়াই ভীষণ ইন্সপায়ারিং, কালেক্টিভ লড়াই, আমাদের কলকাতা পার্টির লড়াই, এটা দারুণ
হুম।
জিনিস তোমরা সব করেছো। তো সেই জন্য আমি বলছি কি, অন্যরা কি করছে না করছে ওইটা তো আমাদের নিশ্চয়ই ধ্যান রাখতেই হবে, কিন্তু আগে
হুম।
আমাদের
আগে
অ্যাটেনশন
কি?
আমাদের নিজের উপর আর আমাদের নিজের কাজের উপর। আর
হুম।
যখন আমরা কাজ যেভাবে করছি আর যেভাবে এগোচ্ছি,
হুম।
এইটা না, তোমার রেড ভলান্টিয়ার ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে কত ইন্সপায়ারিং, ওরা তো বুলডোজারকে ফেস করেছে।
হুম।
সেই জন্য
অ্যাবসলিউটলি।
এটা আমাদের কালচার, আর সেটাই আমরা নিয়ে আগে আমরা যাব নিশ্চয়ই, এটা তো আমার একেবারে বিশ্বাস।
Right. So, with that inspiring note, Brinda Di, Comrade Brinda, thank you so much for being with us. And definitely, your words are very inspiring.
By the way,
We
I'm not only your D, I think I can be your Pishi or your Mashima or whatever.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, I am your
So,
Brindati. I am your Brindati. And I again
right.
want to tell you how proud all of us are of all of you young women who are fighting the good fight and taking the message forward.
Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for this wonderful, inspiring conversation. And I hope to see you soon. And thank you so much for inspiring all of us. So,
Thank you, my dear Sai.